How's it going there, everyone? It's Mr. Zano here with a brand new One Piece discussion, folks. And for today's segment, I'm going to be talking about chapter 833, guys. Vinsmoke Judge. Now, this chapter, folks, it was very anticlimactic, folks. Because back in chapter 832, we were getting the hype that, holy snap, Judge versus Sanji. They're going to finally fight. We're going to finally see some powers. But in this chapter, yes, Sanji and Vinsmoke Judge, they actually fought, but it wasn't as you would expect it to be. We gotta love Oda's sense of storytelling here, because when they were fighting, it didn't really give off a vibe of action in itself. It gave off more of a very, how do I say, it gave off a vibe of reminiscing. It was basically, it felt a pity. You felt pity out of Sanji the whole entire fight, because the fact that the fight itself wasn't as how Luffy and versus Don Flamingo. That fight was very adrenaline, very action paced, very fast, very fast panels, and you're just going through it. This one, it just didn't really feel that way every time I was reading this, and I felt it. Oda did that for a particular reason, because the fact that they were actually showcasing Sanji's past with Yonji and his other brothers, and they're kind of showcasing this chapter how Vinsmoke Judge actually treats his whole army as well, how technology advanced they are. It was just more along the lines as how the army is itself in general. It wasn't really an action chapter, and also it was very dramatic too at the same time as well, because Sanji himself, when he was fighting Vinsmoke Judge, I didn't feel anything out of him. I just felt Sanji, he was condescending his father throughout the whole entire time. Actually, I would say he was condescending a former acquaintance, I should say, because the fact that Sanji doesn't really address him as his father. Yes, his father Judge, as you could say, he was constantly telling him, "You're my son. I'm glad you're back here," and all. And he's giving all these one-liners. And Sanji, the whole time, was just saying, stop calling me that, you never were my father to begin with. He's just telling, you could tell Sanji, he's very angry too at the same time, but it's that kind of anger that just felt pity for his whole family throughout this whole entire chapter. And I'm loving how Sanji himself was actually showcased that he's come a long way from the person that he was, how they were showcased. Because in the little history that they're kind of showing in Sanji's past, Sanji was shown to be the very weak brother out of all the brothers, and even Reiji was looking at saying, oh my, she was kind of surprised, oh my god, Sanji, you've come a long way, you're actually holding up a very fair fight against father. And I'm here thinking wow, Sanji was actually considered weak to them, and it kind of shows more along the line that Sanji was the black sheep of the family. And we actually get introduced that in this chapter that there's some kind of theories and speculations of the brothers too as well. Because when I was first reading this entire chapter, I was kind of going, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a comical spoof here and there. Oh, this was pretty funny. Oh, this was pretty interesting. And I love the fact that they actually showed Vinsmoke Judge using his own personal attacks against Sanji. Which, by the way, Vinsmoke Judge, he's very sadistic in terms of how he's using his men. You would think that, okay, I know they're trying to portray him as a very evil character, but I mean, come on, he's using his own men as a shield. I'm like, that's the lowest of the low, Maybe if they were robots, or maybe some kind of clones, or it's just something that's very expendable. Yes, I would understand that, but the fact that he's using actual live people, which kind of makes me wonder, what the heck is going on to this person, I understand you have an army, but actual living people are not expendable, it's kind of hard to keep an army in itself. That's my personal opinion. If I was a very powerful leader or a king, I would not want to lose followers. That's my personal opinion in itself. But that's what they kind of showcased in the chapter, because Sanji was fighting Vinsmoke Judge, and he used his own people against Sanji. Even Sanji was kind of get the F out of my way. You're in my way against an actual fight. You guys are just nothing. And Sanji actually even felt pity for these people themselves, because they're throwing their lives away for nothing, for not even for someone that doesn't even care 2 cents for them. And that's what I like about this chapter. There's just so much emphasis that Sanji was showing and so much meaning behind these two are clashing. Like I said, it wasn't a very action-paced chapter. And also, we even get at the end of the chapter, what was pretty awesome was the fact that throughout the whole entire chapter, Sanji was actually stating, though, my hands are my primary weapons, a choice when I'm cooking. I'm sorry, it wasn't a primary weapon, I'm sorry. He could use his hands as weapons, which Vince Smoke Judge actually kind of stated that Sanji actually knows how to use a sword, and I'm like, oh, okay. Sanji can act. He's a very multi-talented guy. He's not just kicks only or judo and all the all the other stuff. But it just seems that Sanji knows how to use swordmanship, but just because the fact that he's never going to use a sword because he doesn't want to hurt his hands. They stated that, and they actually emphasized that on this chapter because at the end of the chapter, Reiju and Vince Smoke Judge clearly said that, oh, because you feel that your hands are your most important thing. Okay, so now we're gonna actually take you off, and they implanted these like bomb rings, or, like the slave trade back in Archipelago, when the slaves had like this little like necklace on their collarbone that if they take it off it explodes. They had something similar to that. For Sanji, instead, they placed it on his wrist, and they said, oh, if you try to leave this island, we're gonna basically destroy your hands, so that way, if you're gonna go back to Luffy, basically, you're gonna go back to him useless, since apparently your hands are your most precious things to you right now, instead of the family, which I kind of think it's a little better that he shouldn't even stay with his family, because the way they're kind of portraying the Grandma 66, it's just like cliche, cliche evil villains, how do I say, Sanji's story is not necessarily cliche. It's just the fact that Sanji himself, he seems like he's trying to, like, they're trying to portray him as like the royal that has the only person that has moral feelings, you could say, and the other ones are they're high in prestige, kind of like a Don Flamingo story, like a story, but if Don Flamingo had feelings, it's kind of something like that. Think of it like that. But folks, in this chapter as well, we also clearly get to see some new kind of speculation itself. Which by the way, when Sanji actually lost, I want to say lost. It's just in the battle, it did look like he was losing, but in reality, it's just that he wasn't really facing off his whole entire essence into the fight, because, like I said, he felt pity. When he kind of gave himself away against Vince Judge, we're clearly seeing that Sanji is trying to he is trying to formulate a plan out of here. I think he's trying to change his family too, because he's kind of feeling pity for them. I believe, like I said, this side story for Sanji is like, I feel like he's trying to recruit his family to join the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. I personally think so myself, or at least the father. At least he's trying to change his ways too, because the fact that I mean, come on, no one can stay that evil forever. I mean, come on, even Sanji's kind of, he has a some moral feelings for his family, but still, these characters are just not giving two shits for him. And I'm here wondering, like, crap, And the family themselves are not even going to let Sanji leave, so Luffy is going to be in there for a giant fight because of the fact that, holy snap, even if Sanji gets away from Big Mom, he's still going to have to face it off against freaking his own family. And that's what Luffy, I think that's what Luffy really is, his main enemy. It's not really Big Mom herself. It's actually Vince Smoke Judge, because of the fact that they have a whole mass army, and they just seemed like they could actually follow him everywhere in the whole world too. Because I mean, Big Mom, I mean, she could just give two shits. She could just give two shits. I feel like Big Mom doesn't really care. Like, she'd probably be like, oh, that's something expendable. Like, who cares? I could just find another person. For Big Mom, it just seems like she's just really in there for the political power. But I keep digressing from what I'm really trying to say. Sorry about that, folks. And we're actually kind of getting more on this chapter as well, is Vince Smoke Judge's powers. I was kind of a little, I would say, surprised, because I watched a Joy Boy video, which, by the way, hello Joy Boy, I don't know if you're going to be watching this sooner or later, but also, yeah, when I watched one of Joy Boy one of these theories, I actually was hearing him. He said that apparently Yonji and the brothers are actually robots. And I went back and read the chapter. And I'm here thinking, okay, he's actually kind of making sense. because there is a part in the chapter where Yonji himself was getting like a tune-up because you know, Sanji actually beat Yonji in when off panel, and they were trying to fix him like as if he was a robot. I actually in that kind of scene, I thought it was more like a comical spoof right there, and they're just like trying to fix him, you know, like, oh, he got beat up, so let me try to heal you. But I kind of passed it really quickly because, you know, I thought it was like one of Oda's just comical spoofs there, but no, it makes sense. Why is the doctor using a hammer to heal him? And I'm like, wait a minute, oh shit, Joy Boy's right, you know. Yonji could actually be a cyborg in itself, since the Grimmer City is a very advanced technological race. And I'm like, holy snap. Which kind of then goes back to Vince Smoke Judge, and I'm here wondering for himself, wait a minute, did the powers that he used, was that his technology, or was that him, I would say, his hockey, you kind of say, or his spiritual essence when he was fighting? Because he what's it called, Vince Smoke Judge actually uses electricity in the fight, and Sanji uses fire. So I'm like wondering, what is going on here? You know, like Joy Boy Theories kind of threw me for a loop when I saw his video, and I was kind of clearly looking at the chapter like in a whole different perspective when I went back to read it over again, and I kind of here thinking that maybe it was the technology. I don't think his father can use electricity. I don't think so. I think he actually is focused more on using his own weapons of mass destruction, as the same of using his own body. Because I mean, look, he used a spear to fight Sanji. He used these power, like these boots to help him be quick throughout the whole entire fight. That's why I'm clearly thinking that no, I don't think that electricity was actually Judge's actually own spirit. I would say I personally don't think so. I don't know. It just didn't really click onto me. And also the fact that if it was electricity, that's pretty cool, because it could also explain why Sanji could do all those crazy tricks, or his essence could also be made of fire and all that kind of stuff. It could be clearly because of that. But for now, I'm thinking that it could be the technology that Vince Smoke Judge is using that to clearly help him win against Sanji. But which also goes back to what I was saying earlier, that Sanji then felt pity because his father is not really strong. Because clearly Sanji has now gone stronger than his father. Clearly, it's been shown that. Because Sanji didn't really use any of his strong attacks against him. You know, and that's what I love about the chapters, though. There's just so much depth in the chapter that it wasn't just about the fight itself. It's just the meaning behind the fight. That's what the chapter was mainly about. And Vince Smoke Judge, I actually see him as a weak character in my honest opinion. I don't really see him as a very strong character anymore. He's using all these tricks and little cunt things that he's trying to do. You know, I feel like Vince Smoke Judge he's a very weak character. I'm sorry, guys. He really is. I don't see him as a very powerful villain. That's why I'm kind of thinking he is gonna be Luffy's main enemy in this arc itself, but as a parting away for Sanji itself, because it's actually Sanji who's gonna actually be fighting. Because I mean, Sanji's gonna have to come to terms with his father, because Luffy's probably gonna be like, okay, you know, this is a family issue, so he's gonna have to leave Sanji to it, but he's gonna probably wait for Sanji to handle his family matters. That's what's it's more like a little family internal struggle. Because I mean, Luffy does respect Sanji, so that's why I'm thinking a lot is gonna be happening in these chapters. But that's it for today's saying, folks. I don't want to keep dragging this video out for too long. But this chapter was very entertaining itself, and shout out to Joy Boy Theories for making his awesome videos, which kind of gives a lot of speculation. His videos make very sense, guys. Check out Joy Boy Theories channel. Very interesting One Piece theories. But if you guys enjoyed my content, give a like, comment, share, and subscribe. But this is Mr. Zen, signing out.